So, guys, this is a real protest that happened just a few days ago. They're screaming, "Save our shelters. Do not kill my best friend." Yeah, that's pretty sad. So LA, like Los Angeles, really going through it right now, folks. We had a pretty big fire, one of the most major wildfires in history. That was the big one, and that destroyed LA's economy. There's also a lot of other sort of really shady LA stuff happening. All the sexual abuse cases that came out against the LA County juvenile system. So they're paying out like a settlement of $4 billion for that. It's a settlement. I want to just say, like, that's a settlement. They're not fixing the problem. But that's besides the point. LA has a lot of debt that they're trying to fix. And so Mayor Cam Bass came up with the idea to cut a bunch of funding to shelters. And now, so they're going to close down 3 different shelters. 62 people are going to lose their job. And people are pissed off about it. And so I am as well. Although I understand that LA is hurting right now, and I do understand that, we're going to have to rebuild Altadena, the Palisades, and parts of Malibu. We're going to have to rebuild a lot, and it's going to cost us a lot of money. But I don't know that this is the answer. And more importantly, if it is the answer, then what do we plan to do with these dogs? It's really shady. And it seems that Mayor Cain Bass is basically just going to euthanize a bunch of animals just to cut funding. So there's no exit strategy. There's no sort of like, where do we send these dogs? How do we, or cats? How do we deal with the situation? There's nothing like that. And people are really pissed about this.
You know what? We're out here to speak to Mayor Bass. You have failed your employees, and now you're failing the animals. We're here to protect for animal rights. They're trying to shut down 3 shelters in the San Fernando Valley, and that is not right. What's going to happen to our animals? More animals are going to be euthanized. Let's think about the voices that cannot speak. How about that? And all the people that are going to be let go.
Run a nonprofit.
I like that she said, she's speaking for the voices that cannot speak. Animals can't speak for themselves, and it's up to us to speak for them sometimes. So this kind of stuff really matters. I want to point out this no breeding sign right here. So that is a very specific to Los Angeles problem that many animal rights activists will go after backyard breeders. Here's the thing. I'm not going to hate on them. I'm not going to hate backyard breeders. I'm just not. It's not my style to hate. Hustle. Look, I'm not going to say like I'm from the hood. I grew up in like a house that was, and I grew up on the outskirts of the hood. I'll put it that way, right? Like I grew up only 10 minutes from Camden. So I know about the hood, and I know about how to make a hustle, how to make it work for you. And I might be against that hustle, but I don't march around with signs that say, no breeding. I'm all for making things illegal, and that is a good way of combating people who do backyard breeding, people who fight dogs. There's a great way to make these things illegal. Also, getting bills out there to, help combat things like prong collars, choke chains, e-collars. There are some places where e-collars are illegal. I don't know what they are. I'm not going to list off places that are. I just know that in some places e-collars are illegal. So, all that being said, the breeding issue here in Los Angeles is a huge problem. And a lot of times what happens is, LA is a very segregated city. So a lot of times what happens is the people that backyard breed in parts of LA that are not bougie, they backyard breed and they raise the dogs for specific purposes, right? So protection training, and usually it's protection training, right? I don't see a whole lot of dog fighting cases but maybe it's just blowing. Maybe it's just not talked about. Maybe it's like super, super underground. But usually it's for, breeding dogs, training dogs to fight for protection purposes. And so what happens is when you come over to my neighborhood, it's not accepted. And so people like me have to undo all of the things that you just did to the dog. And so this is a huge movement here in LA. It's a constant cycle. There is always work in the dog training industry to be done because it's a constant cycle of someone trains a dog with adversive methods to attack somebody, and then we have to train that out of the dog with positive reinforcement methods. This is an ongoing sort of Batman and Robin partnership, right? Like we don't hang out with each other, we don't like each other, but we know about each other. Right? So much of my job here in Los Angeles has been getting the dog out of the dog, if you will. All right, let's keep the protest going. Let's see what else people have to say.
Animal rescue here in Los Angeles, and we work tirelessly to pull animals from these shelters. They're already overcrowded. They're already turning animals away. They're telling people who are bringing animals to the shelters now to put them back on the streets because they have no room for them. And now they want to close half of the shelters. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. I agree. There is a huge overcrowding problem here. And so that's not just the breeding problem that Los Angeles has had. This is also exacerbated by COVID, by the COVID era, because so many people got rescues during COVID and then returned them. Some people return them because they suck. And others return them because they really did fall on hard times. They really did. Maybe they had to leave. Maybe they got a job someplace else. The economy in Los Angeles is really bad. Most people cannot afford to live here anymore. Most jobs do not pay people enough to afford living in Los Angeles. So unless you were born and raised here and you have family that can, pay your rent or you can live with your family, you're probably not going to do well in Los Angeles. 40% of men, let me rephrase that. 40% of young men still live with their parents here in Los Angeles. By young men, I think that's like 20s, 30s. I think 40s and up. I think it's down to, it's still a pathetic number. It's like 25% still live with their parents. Don't quote me on that, but I know for a fact it was 40% of young men still live with their parents. And that makes my dating life here in Los Angeles pretty hard because I've lived on my own since I moved here to Los Angeles. I've had my own apartment since I moved here. I established myself, and I'm proud of myself for that. So dating somebody who still lives with their parents is pretty awkward. But anyway, getting off topic. Point is that a lot of people in Los Angeles are really struggling. And if you don't have family here to support you, you're not going to be able to survive here. And so a lot of people just return their dogs. They just brought them back to the shelter and left them there, and they started getting overcrowded. On top of that, now you have the fire that happened in January, and a lot of people's dogs ran from their houses, or they couldn't save their dogs. Maybe they tried to take them and they couldn't save them. They ran away. Whatever happened, they ended up at the shelter. I know a lot of people had emergency shelter situations with their dogs during that time. So yeah, the overcrowding is a real problem here in Los Angeles.
The idea of defunding the animal services and closing down any shelters is insane. The animals are already suffering.
Animal rescuer, and Karen Bass wants to cut 50% of our shelters. And
50%? I didn't even know that. 50%? Where are these dogs and cats gonna go? Where are they gonna go?
And 65 of the employees, and that means with our overcrowded shelters, hundreds and hundreds of animals will be euthanized instantly. because they're overfilled right now. Where are 700 dogs going to go?
But I am convinced we can shift some resources around. We can increase income if we use some of our great influencers. Let's use our resources in LA, our influencers. They can, help us raise money and funding for these shelters. But
That's true. I am not influencer status at this time, but I will do my part. I will do my part, and I will share this video. Please share this video and make this influencer status to help this lady's voice be heard.
just slashing them and closing 3, how's that going to work out? During the Olympics, we're going to have dogs running in the streets.
It's true. I completely agree with that. We are going to have dogs just running around in the streets. That's what LA is going to look like. And that's not such a bad thing if I believed that everyone was going to sort of pitch in and feed the dogs like we do with stray cats. But I just don't see that happening. I think people are going to be, I fear people being mean to dogs, running them over, kicking them out of the way, just doing things that are completely unnecessary to hurt an animal, and it breaks my heart. So yeah, that's just a little bit about some animal rights issues. This is some real problems here in LA, and again, like, comment, share. Please share this video, not just because I'm asking you to, but because I want people to get the word out and try to do something about it. If you live in Los Angeles and you have a home that you can open up to a dog, be it an apartment or a house, please try and foster a dog. Fostering a dog is not only going to help the dogs that are being or saving the dogs from being euthanized, but it also helps you. It helps you have a little furry friend in your home that you can care for and love and be with, and it could be this really beautiful thing for the both of you. So if you can, please foster dogs in Los Angeles.